Greetings, one and all, and welcome to episode number 31 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. This is the Elite 8 version of Thoughts and Hunches. Your boy Stoney is back for the 31st time, and we're ready to get busy. I want to welcome all my fellow hustlers, scumbags, hoodlums, lowlifes, fienders, and degenerates. You guys can't get enough. My winners speak for themselves. They continue to dominate. I ran through a little rough stretch there, down the stretch of the regular season and into the conference tournaments. But during the tournament, I've been top notch. We went 5-3 in the Sweet 16. I'll take that all day long. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That makes us 32, 23, and 1 during the tournament. 58%. Again, I'll take that every single day. So our overall numbers so far, we've now hit a couple of milestones. College basketball for the season, 178, 118, and 4. That's 60.13%. We're now over 60% on the season in college hoops. You gotta love it. And with only 3 games left, or excuse me, 2, 4, 7 games left, only a 3-4 or a 2-5. I don't even want to think about that, but only that would take us below 60% on the season. So we've pretty much locked up 60% on the season for college basketball, 58.8 or 58.18 during the tournament, and overall 337, 244, and 7. That's 58% on the nose. We're at 58%. Only problem was the NFL. We'd have been at 61% if it weren't for the NFL. The NFL dropped us down 3 full percentage points. Good Lord. The NFL. What are you going to say? Anyway, it ain't about the NFL. This is about college hoops. This is the best time of year. We saw some unbelievable basketball. It's really late here. I've got to get to work early, so I'm going to get these picks off to you because I had to wait until all the lines were posted for the 2 games coming up on Monday and the 2 games coming up on Tuesday. So here we go. Let's get right at it. In the Midwest region, we've got number 2 seed Houston as an 8-point favorite over 12th-seeded Oregon State. Unbelievable how both teams got here. Oregon State didn't even belong in the tournament 3 weeks ago. They ran the table in the Pac-12 tournament, got that automatic bid, got in, and they beat Tennessee and Oklahoma State and Loyola Chicago, all convincingly. Very, very convincingly. The only close game kind of was Loyola, but Oregon State had that game in hand. Tennessee and Oklahoma State, they never even trailed. So Oregon State has dominated this tournament so far, right? And as a 12 seed, they're looking to make the Final Four. I mean, the winners here of all 4 of these games get to the Final Four. They finished 6th in the Pac-12 during the regular season. The last time they were in the Final Four was 1963. So it's been a while. 58 years and counting since the last time OSU has made it. They do it with defense. And for all the talk about all these other great defensive programs that they've been up against, especially Loyola, who is number 1 overall, Oklahoma State didn't have, or why do I do that? They're both black and orange and they're both OSU. Oregon State never had a problem with them. I mean, they got off to a slow start, but once they got going, it was over, and they imposed their will defensively over Loyola instead of the other way around. Ethan Thompson and Warith Alatishe have been absolutely ridiculous in this tournament. They're both playing at incredibly high levels, and they're going to have to continue come Monday because they're up against the 2nd-seeded Houston Cougars. Now, Houston is this far with wins over Cleveland State, Rutgers, and Syracuse. Cleveland State and Rutgers, they fell down. They fell behind early. And in Rutgers, they were down double digits. And even Cleveland State, they were down 9 points. They came back. They won both of those. And against Syracuse, the vaunted zone of Syracuse was going to slow down Houston like they've done to everyone else. Didn't happen here. Houston won easily and covered the number. These were both 2 of my 5 wins over the weekend. Had Oregon State and Houston as covering the number. Houston made, if they win this one, this will be their their 6th trip to the Final Four. They made 3 straight in 82, 83, 84 during the Phi Slamma Jamma years. Guy Lewis, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Larry Mishaw. They were unbelievable. Well, Kelvin Sampson has them ready, and they do it the right way. I'm sorry, but this is quickly becoming my favorite team to watch in the tournament because they do it with defense and rebounding. They're not about firing up the 3, although they will, right? But they get after it with rebounding, offensive rebounding, and athleticism, and their defense is, right now, it's second to none. They've got the best defense going, and that's what they're going to look to try to slow down Thompson and Alatishe for Oregon State. Quentin Grimes, Dijon Giroux, these guys are just, 2 more studs for Houston that are getting it done. And I like Houston. I'm going to lay the points. I know this has been a dog tournament, and everyone's all about the dogs because the dogs have been covering. But the favorites kind of bounced back a little bit over the weekend. And the dogs, I want to say it's like 32-20, or 27-25 or something like that around the dogs versus favorite number so far. So it's not, jarring in either way. But I like Houston. I'm going to lay the 8. I've liked Houston from the get-go. I thought they were the best team in the Midwest. Maybe not the best team, but probably the best path. And facing a 12 seed in the Elite 8, although you got to kind of throw out the seeds at this point, it's got to be looking good for Houston. So Houston did it against Syracuse. They rolled easily, covered easily, and I've got them covering again here. Lay the 8, take the Cougars. As far as the total goes, we're also going to give you totals for all 4 games. So instead of just 4 picks, we're going to have 8 picks here. The total here is at 129 because both teams get after it defensively, and we're going to stick with the under. The under right now has been hitting at a really, really high rate. 32-22 against the number is the under so far. The under hit 6 out of 8 games just this weekend, with only today, the only game that hit the over was UCLA Alabama, and the only reason that did was because of a 3 at the buzzer that sent it to overtime. If he misses that 3 and UCLA wins that game in regulation, that game goes under, and all 4 games would have gone under today. But anyway, the under has been the play. We're going to continue to ride it. 2 great defenses. I see this one being somewhere along the line of 68-58, 68-50, somewhere in there. Houston wins. They win easily. They cover easily. And the game still goes under the 129. So there's game 1 on Monday. Game 2 on Monday, we head to the South region, and this is number 1 seeded Baylor versus number 3 Arkansas. This is going to be one hell of a matchup. There's athletes all over the floor in this one. Baylor, what can you say? They've been kind of in Gonzaga's shadow all year. They've been ranked number 2 basically for the whole season, and they got this far so far by beating Hartford, Wisconsin, and Villanova in the last 3 games, and they've done it impressively. They've covered all 3 of those numbers, and they're doing it the way they do it. They have the best backcourt in the country. They have a 4-guard offense that just runs, and they also attack you defensively, forcing turnovers that lead to transition baskets and easy buckets. And Baylor is is a tough out right now. Now, they've not reached the Final Four since 1950, so it's been 71 years since they've got there. This is their third Elite Eight in the last 11 seasons, but they're 0-2 in those last two. So this is their third. They're looking to get there, and they're 7.5-point favorites over Arkansas. Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell, these guys, Butler's and Maceo Teague, the guards just keep coming at you. And even after a slow start against Villanova in the first half of the Sweet 16 game, didn't matter. They were down 9 at halftime, and they came back and won by 11, covering the number and outscoring. They won by like 17. They outscored Villanova by like 25 points in the second half. It was crazy. So Baylor's loaded, Baylor's tough, and they're up against Arkansas. Arkansas is the number 3 seed. They got here by beating Colgate, Texas Tech, and Oral Roberts. They've been living dangerously. And all three of those, well, not the Colgate game, but the Colgate game was close for a little while, but the Texas Tech and the Oral Roberts games were tough, and Arkansas still found a way to get them, and they made back-to-back Final Fours back in 94, 95. They won the national championship in 94, and when they were looking to repeat with Corliss Williamson and Lee Mayberry and Todd Day and those guys, and that team was something else. They were looking to repeat in 95, but UCLA beat them in the national championship. But they made back-to-back Final Fours in 94, 95. This would be their first trip back if they get the win here. Since then, these are two old Southwestern Conference rivals. They knew each other very well, but they've only played each other 3 times in like the last 30 years since the SWC folded. But Jalen Tate, Devontae Davis, Moses Moody, these guys are athletic, they're long, they're quick off their feet, they get rebounds, and they force a lot of turnovers too. This is a very good coaching matchup with Eric Musselman and Scott Drew getting after it. So I'm looking forward to this being one of, if not the best game of Monday, of the Elite Eight, let's say. I like Arkansas. I'm going to take the Hogs plus 7.5, and Baylor will probably win the game, and it certainly wouldn't be any surprise. The 7.5-point chalk suggests, but I like the dog here. I'm going to take the dog, not on the money line. It's too much, but Arkansas is the play. As far as the total, 148. These are two teams that run up and down the court and like to get after it, but these are also two teams that force a lot of turnovers. So we're gonna stick with the under, and why not? The under has been hitting at record pace. So at 148, I'm going to take the under, right? 74-74. That's a big number for two teams to be putting up in the Elite Eight, especially as both teams will probably get off to slow starts with nerves and everything like that as the closer you get to the Final Four. So I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Arkansas plus 7.5 in the under. So as a recap, my Monday picks, Houston -8 over Oregon State. Houston, Oregon State under 129. Arkansas plus 7.5 against Baylor. And Arkansas, Baylor under 148. So those are the two picks for Monday. Now we move on to Tuesday. And Tuesday, we start in the East region, and it's Michigan, top-seeded Michigan versus 11th-seeded UCLA. Who could have predicted that? Everybody and their grandmother pretty much had Michigan versus Alabama, but Michigan has come through. Texas Southern, LSU, Florida State have all been victims. I had Florida State upsetting Michigan. I thought they were going to beat Michigan today. Didn't happen. Florida State picked the worst time to have their worst game of the year. Some of it is credit to Michigan and the way they played. Their defense was very good. Their offense was spectacular. and they were unfazed by Florida State. They got the ball, they moved it around. Hunter Dickinson, Franz Wagner, Brandon Johns, they all stepped up and delivered. The big men, Dickinson and Wagner, were pretty much unstoppable as Michigan got a lot of layups. Their offense moved the ball well. They screened, they rolled, and there was always a big man slashing to the basket, and Florida State just could not stop them. So if they're going to win and move on to the Final Four, they're going to have to continue that. Now, Juwan Howard has led his team to 17-6 record against the number, which is unbelievably impressive. And with the loss of Isaiah Livers back at the start of the tournament, and he's not going to be playing, where a lot of people will tell you he's Michigan's best player, they haven't missed him. He's there, he's rooting them on and everything like that, but they have not missed him. They have not skipped a beat. They've covered all three numbers in the tournament, and they've done it easily. None of these games have really been close, and Michigan was as dominant as I've seen them all year today versus Florida State. They looked really, really good. Well, they're up against 11th seeded UCLA right now as Michigan's 8-point favorites over the Bruins. And UCLA, let me tell you, they've now won 4 games. They had to win 3 games in 5 days because they were in the first 4 when they beat Michigan State in overtime. But since then, they beat BYU as dogs and beat them pretty well. They beat up on Abilene Christian. They just hammered them as favorites. Then they came in as dogs to Alabama, and they had the game won when Alabama hit a 3 at the buzzer to send the game to overtime, and then UCLA just took over from there. Mick Cronin has his Bruins. They've bought in to everything that he's teaching. The defense, for once, is a staple, as it was during the Ben Howland years when he led UCLA to 3 straight Final Fours about 15 years ago. Well, their defense is back, and it's getting better. And as the season wears on, this team has gotten better. They lost their last 4 games of the regular season and into the tournament. They weren't playing well. They were on the bubble, hence the first 4 matchup. But now they've ripped off 4 straight to get to the Elite 8, which is not new territory for them, but they're back. They're in it. And they do it with the 3 J's, Johnny Juzang, Jules Bernard, and Javier Jaime Jaquez. These guys were incredible today. Juzang and Bernard carried the load in the first half. Jaquez had a tough time getting off, but down the stretch, during the second half, and especially in overtime, it was Jaquez and center Cody Riley who took over, and it's going to be guys like that who are going to be called upon to slow down Hunter Dickinson and Franz Wagner as they try to pound the ball inside for Michigan. So I like UCLA. I think this is a big number. It's 8 points. While I had Alabama advancing in the tournament, I did have UCLA, and they covered with relative ease. They weren't in doubt of not covering, although that 3-pointer that Alabama made at the buzzer sent it to overtime. I was, what the hell's going on here? Is Alabama going to cover this number in overtime? No, that didn't happen. UCLA got big shots in overtime from guys off their bench. Singleton was delivering, and they got big play from Cody Riley in the paint especially. So I'm going to take the Bruins at +8 over Michigan. As far as the total goes, 135.5. That's not a very high number, but these two teams, Michigan's offense is incredibly efficient, but the way UCLA's ratcheted up their defense, I'm going to go towards the under in this one as well. So that's 3 straight games where I'm going under the number, 135.5. I like the under. I like both defenses. And this should also be another good game. I wouldn't take UCLA on the money line, but I'm a UCLA fan, so it's tough for me to differentiate. So I'm just going to take the 8 and move on. Finally, the last game on the board, the Degenerate Special, if you wish, but there's not really a Degenerate Special during this time because all games are being bet on. We move to the West region, and it's a true West Coast affair. The top-seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs, -9, undefeated, going up against 6th-seeded USC, who just took down Oregon I'd say about an hour ago. USC is here after wins over Drake, Kansas, and Oregon. All of them a very impressive fashion. They're 3-0 against the number. They're blowing teams out. None of their games have been close. They're looking for their first, they're in their first Elite Eight since 2001. And the last time they were in the Final Four was 1954. So it's been 67 years since they've been to the Final Four. So they're looking to make some serious history there. Ethan Anderson has been on fire, bombing away from downtown and opening up the inside for the Mobley brothers, not twins, brothers. Isaiah and Evan have been dominant inside. They're doing whatever they want. Every time the ball goes inside to them, the double teams and triple teams come, which lead to the kickouts, and Ethan Anderson has been draining threes left and right. Well, USC, as good as they've looked against, especially the last two games, the 30-point blowout of Kansas and then the 20-point blowout tonight of Oregon, they've looked really, really good. Was it their A game? It was close to their A game. Well, they're going to have to do that again, because standing in their way is the this is the third. No, wait a minute. Yeah, this is the fourth undefeated team to reach the Elite Eight in the last 40 years. UNLV in 1990. I'm trying to think here. Third team, because the other one was Kentucky. Kentucky in 2015 it was. Kentucky and UNLV made it this far undefeated. Well, Gonzaga's 28-0. Right? They've done it with wins over Norfolk State, where they led by 50 at one point. Oklahoma, who they blew out. Creighton, who they've blown out. They're 3-0 against the number. They haven't been challenged at all. The last undefeated team to run the table was, everybody knows, 1976, Bobby Knight's Indiana team. And the Zags are now 3 wins away from matching them, or from tying them as being the last, from now being the most recent undefeated team to run the table. They're in the Elite Eight for the 4th time in the last 6 years. That's fantastic. Their team is loaded. I mean, let's face it. As much Corey Kispert, first team All-American, Drew Timme, Jalen Suggs, these guys, they're all All-Americans. They're all superstars, and they're all delivering. They're all coming up big, and there's Joel Lai. And then when you look down the board, there's Andrew Nembhard, who's the guy who doesn't get any press. He's like the 5th wheel on Gonzaga. Well, he had season highs in points and assists in their win over Creighton earlier today. 17 points, 8 assists, a dominant performance from him. Gonzaga's offense is incredibly efficient when you watch them. Mark Few clearly has his best team. I thought they were the best team heading into last season's tournament, but this year they're even better. They're undefeated. And like I've been saying it since the tournament started, until somebody shows me that they can play with the Zags, I'm going to keep taking them, period. 9-point favorites, I'm going to lay the 9. I'm going to take the Zags. And finally, for the total, 155, big number, biggest number. Is it the biggest number? Yes, it is. The biggest number of all 4 games. I'm going to take the over. Both these teams can score. Both these teams have been scoring. Gonzaga's averaging 92 points a game. That's just stupid, right? So if you're going to beat Gonzaga, you're going to have to score into the 90s, period. They won today. They scored 88 points, and they took their foot off the gas today once they were up by 25. They only won by 18, but they still won very easily, comfortably. they're going to score. They're just going to keep coming at you. And USC hasn't showed me any reason why they're going to slow down. So I see this game as something like 90-74 or 90-78, somewhere in that range. That pushes the game over. And I like Gonzaga -9 and over 155. So there you have it. There's the 4 picks for the Elite Eight. As a recap of the Tuesday matchups, I have UCLA +8 over Michigan and under 135.5. Then I have Gonzaga -9 over USC, and I have over 155. There's all 4 picks for you. Make sure to know the schedule now. The Final Four is on Saturday. So Friday night, I will post another video with my picks for the Final Four. Then when the Final Four is done on Saturday, I'll probably post a video on Sunday, the day before the National Championship. Those will be my last 2 videos. So we'll end up with 33 this season. And there will be no more videos until August when college football starts. I might put out a video or 2 as maybe some training camp news or things of that nature. Maybe a draft special, an NFL draft special, but I doubt it. Yeah, but it is possible. So anyway, if you haven't yet, make sure to click subscribe so you can stay on board. So anytime one of my videos pops up, you'll be notified and you'll know when it's coming. So finally, I want to give one shout out this time to my brother Simone down in Las Vegas. Bruins. The only reason he gets a shout out, well, 2 reasons. 1, he's my brother. Number 2, he's a Bruin. And Bruins. Him and I, you should have heard some of the talk that was going on before, during, and after the UCLA game today. It was just insane. We lost our marbles. We're going nuts. We're thrilled that the Bruins have reached the Elite Eight. So Simone, mad love, mad props, homeboy. So finally, before we cut out, I want to give you the 4 mottos that we live and die with around here. Number 1, there's money on the streets that can't be ignored. Number 2, if you want to win big, you got to bet big. Cruise. Number 3, to me, the action is the juice. And finally, number 4, good luck to you.